listen, I don't want any more bullshit.
Aw, shit, it's the fuck on. It is official. It is done. Big Dick Ballard pulled the trigger, and today it's been announced that the Philadelphia Eagles have agreed to trade Carson Wentz to the Indianapolis Colts. I am pumped up about this shit. This is a big fucking move, but plot twist. Not every Colts fan is locking themselves in the bathroom with Jergens Lotion in excitement over this fucking deal. So, being that motherfucking guy that I am, which is the guy who always asks the question that's really on your mind, I gotta ask the $23 million question right now. Because this is the question that's being bandied about, argued about, debated about. Motherfuckers are talking about it right now. Did the Colts just make a huge fucking mistake by trading for Carson Wentz? We're going to jump into that right now, but first, I'm your host, Harkon Ajala, a.k.a. the BadBoy Genius, at your motherfucking service, and I want to welcome you to, or back to, the world's one and only, official, world's famous, bullshit-free Colts podcast, the only podcast, the only place in the world, in the known universe, and that includes all the fucking multiverses in the MCU, where you can get 100% all the talk that's fit to talk about our beloved Colts. But here, you get it with 100% no coach speak, no PR, no spin, no political correctness, and most importantly, yes, 100% no motherfucking bullshit. Let's jump the fuck into this, because this question has got to be asked. Did the Colts make a huge fucking mistake when they traded for Carson Wentz? This is going to be a good one. But before we jump into this shit, let me ask you, as always, to take a second, take your player-ass, pimp-ass finger, and smash that like button below this podcast or this podcast video, because it will help us out with the YouTube and Google algorithm so that our podcast is shown to more and more real deal ass Holyfield Colts fans like yourself. Make sure you like it. Make sure you share this video with people who would love it, and make sure you subscribe. And last but not least, there's 3 ways you can donate to us. Please take a second, pick one of those 3 ways underneath this video or this podcast, and send a brother a couple of bucks. Give me $20, $10, $5, even $1. Any amount helps us out to bring more and more of the good shit that you like to hear about the Colts, all right? So I appreciate you doing that. Before I go back to this question, I gotta send a shout out to some of my peeps. These are the people who are the loyal subscribers, the loyal listeners and viewers, and the loyal people who are giving us donations and contributing to some real fucking good Colts conversation in the comments. So let me shout out, first and foremost, as always, my man Etzel Ferguson. Let me shout out Crispy Who, what up? Christopher Kahn, Brandon Moore, my dude Chris Dwayne, holla at your boy. A new person, Mr. Sean Murphy, we appreciate you. I don't even know how to pronounce your shit. Looks like SKT Glub, Scuttu Glub, whatever. What the fuck is up, homie? Rhymes 365, holla at your man. Of course, Ethan Bailey, Speedboat, what up? TWE McGraw, what up? Kelvin Beatty, what up? Big Bank fucking Buddha, what up? O'Gara family, what up? Hey, I appreciate each and every one of y'all. Thanks for being loyal listeners. Thanks for being loyal patrons. And also thank you for all the donations you guys are sending in. For the people who are donating, especially the people who are donating multiple times, I'm going to start doing something special for y'all. I'm going to start taking in some of your questions. Some good shit coming up. Just keep holding your boy down, and we'll keep providing the hottest, most controversial, and most bullshit-free Colts content, all right? All right. Now let's jump into it. You know how we do it. Let's chop it the fuck up. All right. First off, if we're going to look at whether or not the Colts fucked up when they made a trade to acquire Carson Wentz, let's look at their options. For the people who are like, this was a fucking mistake, Carson Wentz is washed, they should have never done it, whatever. Let's look at their options. After Philip Rivers retired, the Colts found themselves with a fucked up situation, kind of like if you had a sick ass fucking tricked out 2021 Ferrari, but no engine in it. You know what I mean? The Colts have a team that has a lot of the pieces in place. I mean, the foundational pieces in place that you need to make a run at a Super Bowl or two. But when Phillip Rivers retired, they didn't just have a decent engine or a pretty good engine anymore. They were left with no fucking engine, all right? So they had to get a quarterback. And as you heard Jim Irsay talk about, it was preferable for them to have a quarterback with some experience because this team is ready to win right now if you can get the right engine in it, okay? So let's look at what the Colts' options were. Okay, after Phillip Rivers retired, their objective was find a franchise QB that can help this team win a Super Bowl. All right, so the options they had were sign a stopgap quarterback in free agency and, play a year or two with that guy while you keep looking for your franchise quarterback, right? You say, look, we can't find the right guy right now, so we're just going to find a stopgap and keep looking. The fucked up thing about that way is that you waste a year or two of a team that's ready to roll. You basically waste a year or two still looking for the next quarterback, and who knows if you're going to find one in a couple of years. In a couple of years, you might try one, and if it doesn't work out, you're back to square one. So that's risky. The second option, they could find a reclamation or salvage project quarterback. This is what I talked about in the podcast yesterday. And that means you can go out and you can find a quarterback that was really good, used to be a franchise quarterback, no longer playing like one, and try to reclaim him. Or you can find a quarterback that never really panned out yet, but you think you can salvage them. That would be like somebody like a Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's never really played very well. I mean, he's intriguing, but he's never looked good in the 3 years he's been in the league. So if you go that route, the risk is, right, I mean, obviously there's some risk. You might not be able to reclaim or salvage the quarterback, but that was the second option. The third option really was you take a chance in this year's draft and try to go and draft a quarterback who's going to be the franchise quarterback of your future. Now, to do that, what's risky about that? Well, there's a couple things. So you got to give up some incredible draft capital to do it in order to move up far enough to be able to get a quarterback that you feel comfortable with. And of course, I mean, it's probably your odds, if you go and look at this historically, your odds are less than 50-50. You know what I mean? That no matter who it is that you draft, a quarterback is going to really work out. Remember, Jared Goff was drafted number 1 overall. The same year Carson Wentz was drafted number 2 overall. Both those motherfuckers got traded this year. The fucking Rams gave away, the fucking Rams basically paid to give away Jared Goff, okay? They way overpaid to bring in Matt Stafford because they wanted to get rid of Jared Goff and his crazy contract, which I might add, they just gave to him a couple years ago. Same thing with the fucking Eagles. They just gave Carson Wentz this big contract a couple years ago. Now they're trading him. So that should tell you right there just how potluck pick fucking draft is when you're looking for quarterbacks. I heard a lot of people saying, oh, the Colts should just move up in the draft and go get one of these quarterbacks. We have no fucking idea if any of these quarterbacks is going to work out. And I'll be the first to tell you, if you're honest, the only one that you can say is very likely, probable, almost can't miss is Trevor Lawrence. The rest of them, look, they might be great, they might be trash. Remember, Dwayne Haskins, people were talking about him last year. He didn't even last a full season, all right? So that's very risky. So those are the options. Now, what the Colts did is they took the second option. They went out and they found a quarterback that they could take on as a reclamation project in Carson Wentz. But here's what I like about it. Carson Wentz is a guy who's played at an MVP level. We've seen this. in the NFL just a couple years ago. So your ceiling is pretty high. If you can reclaim him, if you can bring him back to where he was, you're in good fucking shape. Now, of course, we can't guarantee exactly what's going to happen with Carson Wentz, right? So let's talk about it. And again, here's why you got to look at this trade if you're going to ascertain whether it was a fuck up or not. You got to look at this in the case of what are the possible scenarios and what situation does it put the Colts in each of those scenarios. So let's break those down. All right, so let's start with the worst. The worst case scenario, right? You made this trade for Carson Wentz. You gave up a third-round pick this year, a conditional 2 next year that could turn into a 1. So worst case scenario, he comes in, he's terrible. He's terrible just like last season. In spite of Frank Reich's best efforts, Wentz just can't get it done. He's terrible. Okay, in that case, so you gave up a 3 and a 2, all right? So he doesn't work out this year. He's trash, he's terrible. You move on. You cut him after next year, no problem, all right? You're not beholden to him after a couple of years. All you do in that case is you gave it a shot, you move on from him, you sit him on your bench, you make him the backup or whatever, and you give Eason a shot or whoever else, this other kid that they brought in, or whoever else you want to give a shot to, all right? So in that case, you gave up a 3 and a 2, but it's not going to kill you. You gave it a shot, it didn't work out. It's not going to cripple you or your franchise for the next 10 years. You feel me? You just get rid of the dude after a couple years and move on to the next one. On to the next one like some Jay-Z. All right, now, the second scenario, this is just the middle of the road. It turns out decent. This scenario turns out decent. That means Carson Wentz comes in, and he's an average, capable starting quarterback. He's 15, 16, maybe 14. He's a capable starter. Okay, that means you can continue to build around him, and you can still win while you're grooming Eason or searching for that next elite quarterback. Okay, and you're going to be able to do that without handicapping the team or the salary cap. Because again, after a couple of years, you can re-sign him to a decent contract. If you still want to go with him, you can let him go, whatever. You're going to be able to compete, probably make the playoffs for a couple of years while you still search for that elite QB, or if you think you have him in-house already in Eason or the other guy they picked up, you groom those. But now let's look at the best case scenario. Best case scenario is Carson Wentz comes up in this motherfucker. He's been humbled because of his situation and how it turned out in Philadelphia. He's happy and excited for the prospect of playing with a team that's built to win right now and getting his chance to go to and win a Super Bowl when he's playing, not when he's hurt, watching his backup do it, right? He comes in here, he meshes, locks in with Frank Reich. Frank brings the best out of him. He brings the best out of Frank's play calling and Frank's system. And he plays like a fucking top 5 elite QB. So he goes back to the level he was at in 2017, an elite top 5 QB. Well, in that case, you got a realistic chance to win a Super Bowl or 2 in the next 5 to 8 years. You got no more QB worries for the next 6 to 8 years. Your franchise quarterback is in place. You can now have laser focus and use all your resources, your draft, your free agency signings, everything on an arms race to build a juggernaut of a team around Carson Wentz. That is what we all hope will happen. Real talk, I would not be surprised at all if that's exactly what does happen. I think everything is set up for things to play out exactly like that. And it's going to be fun to watch. And if you take into account those 3 scenarios, then you can see the genius in this trade, because in none of those scenarios does it really kill your team or set you back all that much. Even in the worst case scenario, You're not really dead in the water. It's not setting your franchise back forever. It doesn't absolutely cripple you. It doesn't kill your salary cap or put you in salary cap hell. You're in good shape. But if you get a decent scenario, you can win. You can go and win a Super Bowl if Carson Wentz just comes in and is a capable starter. Let's say a top 11 to 15 quarterback. If you get that kind of play from Carson Wentz consistently, to now you don't have to worry about looking for another quarterback down the road and all that shit, you're in good shape. But if you get the best case scenario, then this is going to be one of the best trades, if not the best trade in Indianapolis Colts history. And that's saying a lot, considering that Ballard just pulled off the best trade in Indianapolis Colts history last season when he traded a number 1 13th pick for DeForest Big Dick Butner. You feel me? So again, understand the genius in this trade. First off, Wentz is only making $23 million this year, and I think $25 million next year. If he is a capable starter, if he comes in here and he's a really good starter, then you're in good shape. That's a bargain. Keep in mind, you spent $40 fucking million this past season just on Rivers and Brissett. Now you're going to have your starting quarterback for only $23 million this year, and then you got $40-50 million left under the salary cap that the Colts can use to bring other weapons and playmakers and game breakers in this motherfucker. Number 2, Carson Wentz is only 28. Okay, that means he's got 5 years experience, but he's still got another 7 to 8 years, if not 10 years, of high-level quarterback play in him if he can get back to that level, if he can just play consistent. He should be going into his prime right now. And getting a franchise-level quarterback that's going into his prime while you've got a team that's built to win around him, that's what we're looking for here. Again, I'm not saying he's guaranteed to play at the franchise quarterback level, but I think that's a reasonable expectation that he'll at least be a very capable starter when you put him, behind this offensive line with this running game, with some of the weapons in the passing game, and of course with Frank Reich's coaching, play calling, and offensive system. I'm really excited about that. Number 3, why is this genius? Because in this deal, the Colts still get to keep their first 2 picks this year, so that they can use those picks to address left tackle, an edge rusher, cornerback, another cornerback which we need, or a big-time wide receiver. Whatever the best player is at those 2 picks, you can still get 2 quality starters to put along with the team you have this year and Carson Wentz in this deal. That's fucking outstanding. Number 4, if Wentz returns to franchise QB play, okay, and I'm not talking about top 5 elite, but if he just is a top 10 quarterback this year, then giving up a 3rd rounder this year and even a late 1st rounder, you're giving up a late 3rd rounder this year and a late 1st rounder next year, that's a fucking steal for a top 10 quarterback that you're paying under $25 million. That is a fucking steal. And then, like I said, stroke of genius, if it doesn't work out, you're not happy, you can cut him in 2 years with no dead cap money hit. You're not killing your salary cap. You're not handcuffing your franchise going forward in terms of being able to get other players or pay for your next quarterback. Man, this deal, all things considered, is an absolute home run for the Colts. As long as, in terms of even before Carson Wentz plays, it's a home run in terms of the deal being the best one you could have gotten. You feel me? Now, if he's shit this upcoming season, then the overall trade didn't work out, right? Then the overall trade is bad. But as it stands right now, this is a fantastic, genius trade move. So, at this point, there's no surprise or suspense about what I think about this trade, right? I think this trade was a masterful trade. I think it was the right move. So, of course, my conclusion is no, the Colts did not fuck up by trading for Carson Wentz. I think they made the best move they could have made. And I talked about this in the last podcast. I think this is even a better deal than a trade for Matt Stafford that would have cost us 2 first-rounders and a 3rd rounder. You know what I mean? When you put it all together and you look at what you had to give up, the small amount of risk you had to take to bring in Carson Wentz, and you look at the reward, the possible reward, this is a low-risk, high-reward trade. I mean, you make that trade every fucking time. You feel me? So I'm ecstatic about this shit. I can't wait to see what the Colts are going to do, what moves they're going to make now going forward. I'm hearing from some sources that I have that Ballard is apparently looking to be very aggressive in free agency this year. It sounds like Ballard and the team feel like they're ready. It's time to go. Now they've made this move to lock down the quarterback position. I'm really excited to see how aggressive they get in putting together the best team they can put together this year so that we can go out and do what I'm always talking about. And you know what that is. So I appreciate you listening, watching this. Let me know. You agree with how I broke this down? You agree this was the right thing to do? Or do you think the Colts made a huge fucking mistake when they traded for Carson Wentz? Let a brother know. Holler at your boy in the comments below. Again, I appreciate you being here. To you, my dear listener and watcher and fellow Colts fan, and to all the Colts players, all the Colts coaches, all the Colts front office people who might be listening or watching, because I know some of y'all do. I appreciate y'all making this move to bring in my man Carson Wentz. Now let's do what the fuck we came to do. Let's make the next moves we need to make, and let's go out and win another fucking Lombardi, baby. Peace. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby. And win another fucking Lombardi, baby.